This podcast has been brought to you by thriving-startup.com. Hello and welcome to the Thriving Startup Podcast, the podcast that supports aspiring entrepreneurs just like you to start, grow and thrive in business. On today's episode, I have a guest who is a multi-business owner and has just taken his business internationally. I'm very pleased to welcome Tom Bates. Tom, hello, welcome to the Thriving Startup Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really delighted that you're with us today. How are you?
Hello, and thank you for having me on. I'm really well, thank you. When you offered to have me on, I couldn't say no.
Well, I'm very grateful that you're here. You've got so much knowledge, so much experience. So I think it's going to be really interesting to dive into all of that and to share it with the audience. So just to get started then, Tom, can you tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey and where you are at the moment, please?
Yeah, sure. How long have you got?
The time is yours. Take
Brilliant.
all the time you need.
I started way back when, to be fair, on a fruit and vegetable when I was 13. I think that's where all of this stemmed from buying fruit super cheap. Well, not me, but the guy who in the stall and then selling it. And we had the opportunity to do that in the afternoon sort of thing when we helped pick him or pack away. Following on from that, I went to university, did a sports management degree. And I thought the university kind of go, here's a load of jobs, go do them at the end of it. And it absolutely didn't do that at all. So I went into Tesco, did their corporate management sort of scheme, went through from all the various levels you could work at within Tesco to senior store manager. And then from there, all running in the background, we have a family-run print company. I'd set up a salon with the wife, and it's just turned 10 this year. The business, not the wife.
Yeah.
And I've always had a bit of I always wanted my own thing. Realizing that Tesco wasn't the be-all and end-all, saw a job in recruitment, so I went and experienced that for a couple of years. I was really eye-opener to sales, building relationships and working in a really fast environment. And one day we'd just moved house, me and the wife and I. She said to me, I'm not going to pay socks anymore. And I was like, okay, that's whatever. So I wore odd socks and I got absolutely rinsed for it from the lads that were in my team in recruitment. So I said, actually, just give me an idea. I'm going to create something that's really cool and entrepreneurial called the Odd Co, which was essentially odd socks. And it was just as Shopify was becoming a thing, subscription boxes were also starting to launch. So I launched the Odd Co and left recruitment, had an investor come on board early days, and he gave me the opportunity to sort of step away from that job and jump into building a business. So learned a hell of a lot doing that, all while sort of still supporting the family business and growing, adding new products and services into that. Along the way, got into property. That started to take off a little bit. A few of our friends sort of pitched together and started buying and flipping houses. And then I realized I didn't like socks anymore, so I got rid of the Odd Co. And we'll go into some of the trials and tribulations of that later on, I think. I jumped back into sort of the print company for a little while, and what I realized was a lot of people were asking us for digital marketing support. So I asked the mother at the time if I could set up a little side department, and we did. And it took off really well and really quickly. Along the way, I met Laura, my business partner now, and she would help develop projects. We would do a bit of design in-house, and then her and her brother would help support in bringing them to life and making them live and things like that. And then, we had a bit of a conundrum where we had an ultimatum with whether we carried that part of the business on for the print company or not. And I went and met with Laura and sort of said, I think there's a real opportunity locally for us to build a marketing agency that actually cares about its clients, cares about return on investment, wants to talk to them and wants to be part of their growth and trajectory. Here we are today. I'm sat in the Altitude office right now.
That's fantastic. So in terms of the number of years that you've been in business then, how many... What's your sweet number now?
So Altitude now is 4 years old. We've just gone into our 4th year.
Brilliant.
We've got around 14 in the team. And we've got a presence in New Zealand. So we've got an office over there. And we're just in the middle of working on an office in the US as well.
I mean, that's such an incredible part of your journey. I mean, you're so young still, Altitude Marketing, the agency itself.
Before you met me then, I was like, thanks.
Well, yes, you are young as well. So the plan to go international, was that always on the cards, or was that you spoke to Laura and you was like, right, okay, there's a fantastic opportunity here, or was it down to your connections? How did that come about?
Probably a mix of both. We always, if I'm doing something, I want to do it big, and I want to do it the biggest way and quickest way. The longer term plan was always to look at other countries and how we could go international. And it just so happened, a good friend of mine moved to Australia 8 years ago, did the whole Australia, New Zealand thing, and ended up in New Zealand. Met a girl called Chelsea who's got a computer science degree, and they came over last summer, and she's working for a bigger company at the minute that has our own small social media marketing agency. It sounded similar to what we were doing when we first started. So kind of spidey senses started tingling. We're like, actually, is there something here where we could leverage the team we've got in the UK, and let Chelsea be the boots on the ground for us over in New Zealand and replicate what we've done? She said it was a great idea. We said it was a great idea. And yeah, so far so good. She's landing clients, and it's interesting understanding how they market over there. It's a few years behind us, but they've started to really catch up. And so we looked at the economic growth of the country, and there's lots of other countries plowing money into New Zealand. And it's an interesting country because you've got sort of the same sort of landmass as the UK, but with 5 million people in it. So yeah, when she says stuff's around the corner, that's normally a 3-hour drive.
Goodness me. Can't imagine it, can you? Because being based in the UK, just everything's on your doorstep. We're so cluttered, aren't we?
Yeah,
as a nation, really. So how do you manage an international business?
So in a minute, it still blows my mind, to be fair. Like, we're on WhatsApp all the time, email all the time, and then we have a weekly catch up on Tuesday morning. We get the short end of the straw in a minute because that's 5 a.m. Because they're 13 hours ahead of us. But yeah, so generally it's all online, but it's working really well. There's sometimes a little bit of a delay, but you can't help that if it's midnight here and we're asleep, and vice versa. But so far so good. I mean, it actually works quite well having a delay from a deliverability point of view of work. So it's almost like Chelsea can brief us in the evening, which is our morning. The team can deliver the work, and by the time the guys over there wake up, it's done.
Wow.
So they think it's fantastic.
So it's like a 24/7 service almost, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, essentially.
Wow, that's brilliant. So in terms of the agency itself, so are your core services digital marketing then?
Yeah, essentially. Everything from SEO, PPC, paid media, ads, strategy, email. PR is a massive thing for us at the minute because no one locally can do PR very well from what we've seen, and design, and web dev and development.
Yeah, all the good fun stuff.
Yes.
Which side of the business do you enjoy the most?
For me, it's I'm a salesman at heart. I think I always will be. So technically my role within the business is sales director, but I love helping businesses once we've started generating leads for them, going that next level and going, okay, how do we make sure that we're converting as many of these leads as possible? I think a lot of startups don't focus on that, and they'll get leads in and they expect that if they call them once, they blame the lead for not being a good lead rather than the sales process and actually understanding what that is, refining it and seeing how they can tweak it, which, yeah, that's super common in startups. But I think that's something we add that's extra layer of value is we actually go and sit down and build CRM, build sales processes and make sure they're getting the most from what they're spending on marketing, which is one of our fundamental sort of reasons for being here.
I think we're in such a privileged position with serving a community of startups and aspiring entrepreneurs because they don't have all the knowledge to start off with, do they? So there's experts in the field that are there to help them. And it's, for me personally, I get a lot of joy by listening to what their current challenges are and what their current pain points to go, right, okay, just sit down, get a cup of coffee. I'm going to explain everything in a step-by-step process to you so you can get the most benefit and the most value from this advice. And I think when it comes to sales, for most people, it's incredibly overwhelming because you don't know about the messaging, you don't know how to storytell. There's usually not a good enough level of research to understand the target market. This is in my opinion anyway. So to take the client through that process of, right, let's start at the beginning. Let's just keep the product and service aside for one moment. Let's properly delve into the nitty-gritty internal bits of what your client, what your target market actually wants. So to put that into then a sales funnel, so to start generating leads and to start nurturing that lead to then hopefully turn them into a customer or client, whichever realm you're working in. I think that is so fundamentally important. And for me personally, with the clients that I've worked with, they have this fantastic idea and they've got a brilliant product or service that they're wanting to get off the ground, but it's trying to like shift that and mold that into a marketable item or service that then resonates with their audience. And I think that's absolutely key.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So can we talk about challenges in business? What thing have you overcome in the last 12 months that's been like, oh God, hated that, or that was a bit tricky, but now you've overcome it?
We've not fully overcome it, but we're in a much better space. But I think every business suffers from it is cash flow.
Yeah.
It's understanding what's coming in, what's going out, and when, and trying to mitigate the surprises, so to speak, that do pop up from time to time. And just we use the pot system, so to speak. So every time money comes in, we make sure it gets put in the right pots of where it needs to go. So we know what levels need to be in the pot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book about that, and I can't remember what it's called, but I'll send it to you after. It's a really good sort of methodology of how to manage cash flow. Having a cash flow forecast is really good. So one thing we adapted really quickly was I'm a firm believer in invest in talent to free up your time. And as a small business, that's not always the easiest decision or the easiest sort of thing to understand. So why would I pay someone when I could do it? But when you're trying to do everything, you do nothing essentially, or you don't do everything very well. So we, as quickly as we could, brought in someone to do our bookkeeping, brought in management accounts, and our accountant now does all of that, including payroll, and gives us a cash flow forecast so that we work really closely with them on a almost daily basis. But we created a deal that works for us and for them. But having that information is so vital. And I think it's the biggest thing, it's the biggest killer of business, isn't it? Everyone, if you run out of cash, there's not many options to turn to.
Yeah, it's tricky. I went to a conference about 2 months ago now, and the head of the Small Business Commission came and joined at the conference, and that was incredible. That was such a valuable piece of information, because she explained that if you're a small business or a startup business, and it doesn't matter whether you're a limited company or whether you're a sole trader, if you have got the evidence to say that you've sent a quote over, and then the customer or the client has sent over a purchase order, or they've had a written agreement in place to say that they're happy for you to proceed with that work, but then you carry out the work and they don't pay, you can actually approach them, and it's free. All of this service is free. It's a government-led scheme, and they can help to mediate between you and the other party to get them to pay you quickly before you start looking at legal proceedings.
Oh wow!
It's very good. I don't know why we went on that topic. Like, cash flow is absolutely it's so important, isn't it? And there's so many tips and tricks of things that you can put in place. It's actually easier if you're a service-based business that's got recurring revenue, because you can set up direct debits with your clients. It just automatically takes the money from them. You don't need to worry about chasing for payment. So I think completely resonates with me, the challenges of cash flow. And that's one of the things that you can always look at introducing to mitigate that risk.
Yeah, definitely. And I think within that, another big challenge is knowing when to hire and who to hire and what to hire for. And I'd encourage anybody at the startup level to work out how, almost do an org chart for where you want to be in 5 years and go, well, which role is most important to me right now? What activity is taking up most of my time, stopping me from growing the business, and work backwards from there. And then as quickly as you can, bring that operator in, so to speak, so you can focus on growing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's to have the vision in the forefront of your mind. It's important, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So the bookkeeping side then, and the accountancy bit, is that outsourced?
It is now, yeah. It used to sit all with me, which I don't mind. I actually quite enjoyed it. I mean, I used to tell myself right or wrongly, it's my way of keeping track of where everything is. I think that was ingrained from a previous guy I used to work with, because he was the same. But as soon as I let go, I made sure that then I put time in my diary that's dedicated to, I call them Financial Fridays, where you spend an hour just going through all the finances of everything that's going on.
Yeah. I think to keep on top of the numbers, it's non-negotiable. You have to do it. You can't just stroll by for months on end, and then it comes to like the end of your 12-month trading period, and like, I better look at all the receipts and the expenses and to see how the profitability is. It's now that you need to have your finger on the pulse at regular touch points.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I know that you're into networking quite a bit. You're a pro networker. What would you advise anybody who's a little bit nervous about networking? What would your top tips be to get the foot in the door with it?
I think it's a great question. I would say everyone in the room that you go into is generally going to feel as nervous as you are. And they are more bothered about what you think of them than what they think of you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of get over that fear and get in the room, because after an hour, you'll feel at home. And it's something I think every business should do. I think you should find a networking group that you feel works for you. There's loads out there, obviously. There's some bigger ones, there's some smaller ones. I think they've all got their place. They've all got their pros and cons. But networking for us has been fundamental in our growth over the last 3 or 4 years, with some massive contracts coming out the back of just being in a room of people that know other people. So if you're going to go to, essentially, being strategic. So if you're going to a networking event, do a bit of research before and see who attends it or who's a member of the group, and go, would any of them either use my services or know somebody that would use my services? And go with a bit of an agenda and a strategy. Don't just go and turn up for a coffee and chat to people, hand out your business card and do nothing with it. I think that's also something that a lot of people do for the first time and go, I didn't like it, or got nothing from it. Is always a big thing. But it's actually, how many of the members or how many people did you meet have you actually followed up with, made a contact with, or tried to give them something first? There's a certain the giver's gain thing from a certain networking group. I think that rings true. And I think if you can go in and try and spread the love as much as possible and as quickly as possible, you become respected very quickly. And then people want to work with you because you've given them something.
Well, you've been able to use a platform to demonstrate your own expertise and your heart, haven't you? I think that's what I like about networking, because you can get in front of a room of people and you can speak to a few key contacts that are there, start to build that relationship that's just, it's so important, and you can't shy away from it, can you, especially when you're starting your business, because you get to see what the challenges are and identify any opportunities where you could help. So that the key word is help, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
I think networking is, if we go back to the conversation that you had about the lead generation and nurturing, networking is that, isn't it?
Yeah,
but just without the data count on a screen, on an analytical screen. It's
exactly.
You've got to go and identify the leads, build that relationship, nurture them, and then hopefully they themselves, if they need that assistance, they can come to you and have the value and input that you can deliver as a business. Or if they're not the right market or in the market at the moment, then they know you well enough to trust you to then be confident to say, right, okay, I am going to refer you to somebody that I know needs these services.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's what you need to do.
Yeah. Working for me years ago, I used to think, oh my God, this is so daunting. This is so overwhelming. There's so many people there. And what you said, that people feel the same, I think it's really important to remember that, just as a bit of armour.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the more you throw yourself into it, the more you get out into even personal development wise. So when I first started networking, because I did it on behalf of another company, it wasn't even for my own company, it was terrifying. But within a couple of weeks, I was standing up doing a 10-minute presentation about someone else's business. And that now allows me to speak to big groups of people and not be concerned, or not concerned, but just you don't fear it. And they say public speaking is like the biggest fear, isn't it, in the UK?
It's one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't appreciate just how big of a deal it is for people, like that fear factor of public speaking. What was the presentation about?
My first one.
Yeah.
I was actually there I was a business development manager for a BDA, or for a business coach. So we were talking about business coaching and why people should do it. It helped because I was a client, so I basically talked about my business, but for them. Talked about the foundations he had helped me lay, and how every small business should really look at business coaching as a support, or even having a mentor. And
did you approach the organisers to do that talk, or did they ask you?
It's part of how the sort of networking group that I joined is part of how they operate. So every week, one of the people in the group to present what they were doing and to try and educate the group more on what they do.
It's good. I bet you've got some interesting characters that are in that room.
Yeah, interesting is the right word, I'd say.
It's nice because there's different networking styles now. So we've come out of the firm constraints of, like a BNI setup. So you have your 30-second pitch. This is what I do. This is who I help, and this is how I deliver what I do. And there's an expectation that you need to bring the referrals in to the networking group and for everybody else to do the same. The fact, particularly since lockdown, so the networking groups that are coming to the table, there's some that I've been to that don't have any pitches, and it's like just easy breezy, really informal, casual, get yourself a drink and mingle as much as you possibly can. Then you've still got like the stereotypical legacy formats, which is like the BNI, which do work very well if you're in the right industry. And then you do have these other networking groups that can be online, so they're almost run like master classes, aren't they? Or like mastermind groups, which I think are really effective.
Yeah, definitely. And they've all definitely got their place. So we built Aptitude, our own networking group called the Social Summit. And I wanted to take everything I liked about all of the styles of networking and bring it into one. But it ended up being a lot more casual. It was in a pub on a Wednesday afternoon and with a nice outdoor space. But we made sure we wanted to bring a guest speaker, and whether it was a local business owner to tell everyone about their story, or it was someone who's been in other companies. So we had an ex-commercial director for Levi's, for example, and he talks about the challenges they went through. The idea was we wanted to add value, but in a really nice and relaxed environment.
Yeah.
And the response we got was really good and really positive. So we carry that on every month now.
I think if it's in that kind of setting as well, you would naturally just relax. Your body language would be different, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I like the idea of going to a pub to network. Definitely.
And especially on a bright sunny day like today. It was good fun. And a lot of people stayed after as well. And we know that quite a lot of business came from it. We got a lot of business from it as well, which was a nice perks what we're doing. That wasn't the main reason to do it. We just wanted to help spread our brand awareness, but make sure everyone came to something they enjoyed.
That's good. That's really good. Okay. So if you could go back all those years ago with the knowledge that you have now, what would you be telling yourself before starting a business?
It's a great question. I was trying to find the answer I wrote down earlier. If I was starting all over again, it would be, rightly or wrongly, I've always found having partner, a business partner, works really well because there's two of you. Yes, obviously you're giving up half the business, but I think that's a more powerful combination, especially if you find someone that has strengths in your weaknesses and vice versa. That's something I would always do again. And I think it'd be find people that you can bring into the business quicker, and don't be afraid to invest in the right people, and make sure you tell everyone, your mum, your dad, your dog, what you're doing. And spread the word as quickly as you can. And then the other thing is to never, and I'm not saying this because we're marketing, don't forget your marketing budget. It's great that you get a website and business cards and that sort of stuff. So many businesses have all that done and then go, actually, I've got no money to tell anyone about them or direct traffic to it. That was a real big sort of eye-opener to us in previous businesses that we've had. We spend a load of money on all that sort of stuff, but don't think about the actual marketing strategy to tell everyone what you do and who you are. So yeah, definitely have a marketing budget and have a 5-year plan in place, have that really mapped out as to where you want to be, and do it with like no money. Money is no object kind of thought process, because then everything changes. If you said to someone, where would you be if money was no object? Their answer is very different to say, if you've got £1,000 a month budget, where would you be? Yeah.
The question that you get asked of, where would you want to be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? And to remove the financial element, the answers that you get from people are really interesting. So if you were to speak to my mom, for example, she would love to do nothing other than set design. So, like when you watch TV shows and films, she's analysing all of that and taking all that in. She's like, what a job. Like, you've got to do all the set designs. You've got to collaborate with the dress designers and the makeup artists. And I just think, oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. But she gets really, really overexcited about it. Like the passion comes out then, but that's not what she does. Yeah, that's not what she does. Can we just go back to the importance of you partnering with somebody else? Because I agree with this. Because when you partner with somebody in a business, one, you have to completely trust them implicitly. And number two, you have an accountability partner, don't you? There's not you. You've got somebody else to look at, and you've got somebody that's going to tell you, right, you're not doing this right, or this worked really well. You've got a champion. You've also got somebody who's challenging you at the same time, which I think is so valuable with the right person in its own right. So when you're looking to partner with somebody, what's your tick list?
Another great question. For me, I try everyone that I meet, I kind of through networking or just generally on day-to-day other business owners, could I work with you, or would I want to work with you? I mean, you always get a vibe in whatever your gut feel is, but it's also then, I think, going back to what is their skill set? What do they bring to the table? And is it anything that would complement what I'm already doing? That's a big thing. Could I go and like sit in a bar with them for 2 hours and not stop talking? If that's the case, then great. Another one, do they share the passion for me and growth? Do they have a big vision? Are they excited about having a huge business potentially one day? Things like that. It's more of if I'm now going to get on and be able to just have a good laugh along the way, the rest kind of falls into place. I don't have a full tick list, but generally that is just good vibes. And if you can get on, then go for it.
By instincts then.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. I think when I look at collaborating with people, because I'm pro collaboration, I look for what the values are. First and foremost, I have to know what they're about, what makes them tick, what they stand for. And if the values don't align, then it won't work. It won't be a long-lasting relationship anyway. I need to know what their motivators are. So what gets them out of bed in the morning, what makes them feel satisfied. And also I want to learn what they want to know new. What new skills do they want to acquire? What things do they want to learn about the world? And have a conversation like that. Because just shifting it up a little bit, you get to draw more out of people.
Yeah, definitely. That's super important.
Yeah.
And you want to know that if not every day is going to be a great day. So when you do have the tough days, are they going to be by your side and in the trenches with you? Will they work with you to get the job done that needs to be done?
The in the trenches comment, that's excited me, that has, because we don't talk enough about the behind the scenes stuff that happens in business. When you go to bed at night and you can't settle, you can't go to sleep until 3 a.m. because you've got so much going on in your brain. It could be the product's not the right fit, or the service isn't the right fit. The lead generation isn't as fluid as you would like. There's cash flow problems, there's people problems. We don't talk about this enough as business owners. And I'm not bringing this to the table as a deterrent for anybody who's looking to get into business or has just started a business. But I think it's sharing the awareness and the personal experiences that every business owner has to promote the empathy that's there. Because entrepreneurship, especially if you haven't been lucky enough to identify a partner to collaborate with, it's a very lonely space. And if you do have moments where you're in the trenches and you're like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? I need this big break that I dream of. I think we would all be a lot more calmer and a lot more reassured that we're not just, alone on our own island and it's, oh, why is this happening to me? I think we all have a duty as business owners to put out there that all of those experiences, they're normal. I mean, you and I had a conversation the other day and I was so flat. I came off our call and I was, oh God, I was such a mood hoover and I had such a negative attitude and just thought, but I'm human. And there are days where you're completely browbeaten. Like, it's not working. This doesn't work. But you have to have a bit more grit, a bit more resilience and perseverance to just go, right, okay, I can do this. That whole sense, didn't I say to you imposter syndrome? I don't agree with that term at all, because that as a term, it would suggest that it's an indefinite arrangement. It's not. And the reality isn't an indefinite arrangement. It's an experience. It's a moment in time that you are human completely, and you just need to take the opportunity to pull yourself up out the trenches, get a better positive mindset, give yourself that kick up the arse, go back to the strategy and go back to your values and your vision. Then just tell yourself, right, okay, you can do this. And also, when that happens and whatever it is that you're trying to get off the ground isn't quite working, go back to speaking to your target market and listen to them again. Listen to what their challenges are, because life in business and life as a consumer it's not constant unless you rent or own a property and you need gas and electric. You as a consumer, your needs change all the time, don't they? So you need to have your finger on the pulse to know that you need to be agile, reactive, and you need to be innovative with the services and products that you're offering to your client base.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that.
Trenches thing.
No, it's so right though. There's two sayings that I sort of live by, and that's if it was easy, everyone would do it. I remind myself of that all the time.
Yeah.
And then the other big thing that's really helped me, especially during COVID and all that sort of stuff, is you can only control what you can control. Everything else is just noise. So when stuff changes that's out of your control, look at the things that you can actually change and manipulate and do the best you can. So if you're having cash flow issues or the bank account's not where you want it to be, look at who owes you money and go, actually, have I tried hard enough to chase that money to get it in, for example? There is always a way. And I think having that grit and determination is something not everyone possesses. It's not easy to maintain, but it's trying to get up and go, right, today's a new day. What's my focus? How am I going to smash today? Well, I think it always goes back to having that plan. Knowing where you want to get to will always help you understand when the tough days are there. And because everybody has them, no matter what they say. I'd love to meet someone that says, no, every day's a breeze. Even Mosey says he has off days and he goes offline for a bit. So you've just got to understand and listen to your body as well. That's a big thing I've learned this year, is definitely understanding, listening to how you're feeling. If you're having a bit of an off day, if you can, I'm not saying you always can. I'm fortunate I've got teams around me that I know I could go switch off or go for a walk for an hour and go and get some thinking time and headspace to come back and face the problem or an issue that we've got. It's a game changer.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the reality of something needing to be done in that moment, you'd be amazed how small that list is. So my non-negotiable urgents are the school run. That's it. In reality, that is it. My non-negotiable urgents are, I have got to be at the school gates to fetch my children at the collection times. That's it. Everything else in terms of what needs to be done, 9 times out of 10, that's a pressure that I've put on myself. That's a high standard that I uphold for my own sanity. But if something isn't quite working in that moment, power of just walking away for 5 minutes or like going for a little walk and just getting back into the right frame of mind. Because if you get stuck at your desk or if you get stuck at, wherever you may be and it's not working, accept that it's not working and you haven't figured it out yet. The key word is yet.
There is always a way.
Absolutely.
And just going back onto what you said earlier about asking or listening to your audience, so especially if you're D2C or B2C, your customers will tell you everything you need to know. And a guy, to be fair to, when I first set up the Oddco, he said the first 10 customers, make sure you personally call them and ask them these 5 questions. And it was all about what did they think of the packaging, what did they think of the process and delivery time, the actual quality of the product, have they told anyone else about it? And this sort of stuff it's not done often enough. It's talked about a lot, but I don't know we don't come across many businesses in our world that even understand who their target audience is.
Yeah.
That's our job in helping them understand that. But we've got another business called Game on Lock at the minute, which is a complete startup, but it's grip, socks, mini shin pads, and spray to improve performance of indoor sports. And that we're basically taking everything I learned from the Oddco and putting it into this. And so Jack, my co-founder in that, again, I've got a business partner in that who sees over the day today, gave him that format and said, go do this. And the feedback we got is unreal. And you know that then you pivot that into what you're going to do. And if you listen to it and take it on board. And I think a big mistake business owners make is trying to do something that's right for them.
Mm-hmm.
We get this a lot with design. Some business owners are maybe not the best at design, but they're like, this looks incredible, it's great. You're like, that looks shocking. It doesn't say anything to your target audience. You kind of got to step away and go, it's not about me. It's about who I'm trying to sell to or who I'm trying to serve or offer a service to.
Something as so simple as speaking to your first 10 customers, or even if you've got the first 10 prospects that are lined up, so they're leads that you're trying to nurture, that personal phone call, I'm just trying to think of how I would feel with that. I would feel in that moment completely immersed within that brand and wanting to support them because I would feel like I'm part of something that's being built. It's so important. It's so simple. I agree. Not enough businesses do it. I will be honest, I haven't done that. So my brain is going like this because absolutely, I mean, like for God's sake, they're the people that you're wanting to help get whatever it is that you're wanting to offer them, you want them to feel the benefit of this wonderful thing that you've created. But how do you know if it's wonderful if you haven't asked them? Yeah, I like that, Tom. So there we go, guys. Your next thing that you've got to do on your to-do list is ask 10 either existing customers or 10 prospects what they think of your service offering at the moment. Because I think we forget people want to help others. Very rare that you'll come across somebody that's so singular and they're like, no, I'm on my own. Thank you. This is just me by myself. The pleasure that you get, and if you were a dog, your tail would start wagging, knowing that you've helped somebody else and you've done good. I think we forget that. It's almost like we fear asking for help or asking for feedback because we're frightened of any negative connotations that could be linked to that. And it's just not the case.
Exactly. And even if someone does say it's not quite what they thought it was going to be, there's an opportunity to find out what they would have expected or what they want. But you create, like you say, raving fans and advocates by doing that.
Yeah.
It's really simple. It's the same for if you've been going for a few years. We were talking about this this morning actually with one of our colleagues. Every 3 months, have a bit of a referral strategy, so to speak, where you call people that have spent money with you over the last 12 months, every 3 months, and go, just call and say hello, wanting to see how business is going. We're still here if you need anything. By the way, do you know anybody that might also benefit from the service we offer if you liked it that much? And they might not tell you on that call, but when you call back in 3 months, they'll go, actually, I spoke to Billy. He really likes the sound of what you're doing. And it's such an easy marketing strategy to do, especially when you're starting up and money is not always, you've not got buckets of marketing budget. It's a great way to start.
Well, it's like going for a coffee, isn't it? Deciding, I want a cup of coffee. It's not there straight away for you. It has to percolate. So whatever conversation that you're having, if you can set it up so that it percolates with people, then it's not just because I don't have an answer that you want to hear there and then, doesn't mean that it's off the table.
No, exactly.
So, Tom, I've really enjoyed this episode. Thank you ever so much. I have one closing question. In business, what brings you the most joy?
There's a lot of things. I love business. So it's an awesome question. But for me, there's a few things. There's seeing and developing a team that really understand your journey and are so invested in making it happen with you. That's a feeling like no other. That for me, is probably on one of the best things about being in business is working with others that want to perform just as well as you and growing something that's going to leave a legacy. I think is one of the best things.
Legacy is such a wonderful thing, isn't it? And how you work out your legacy. I did this as a visualization exercise for a client a few years ago. She was stuck with everything that was happening in her life at that point. So I picked her up, took her to a cemetery, got the picnic blanket that's in my car, and I laid it out on the floor and I got her to lie next to somebody's grave. I know it sounds a bit morbid. I got her to lie next to somebody's grave and I asked her to close her eyes. And I said, this is a visualization exercise and it's supposed to be uncomfortable, but it's also supposed to be powerful. I want you to visualize what people are going to say during your eulogy. How do you want to be remembered? And that's the legacy. That is it. It's how you make people feel. It's what you want people to say as your everlasting thought and feeling that you've made somebody, how you've made somebody feel in your time on earth. And I think it's your legacy needs to be in your top 5 things that you record and you start to gain clarity on when you start a business. Definitely.
100%.
So, Tom, thank you ever so much for your time. Say hello to the whole team at Altitude Marketing for me. And, I've really enjoyed today. Thank you ever so much for your time.
Thank you. I have too. It's been really good. And I will do. Hopefully we'll get you over again soon.
Yes, I would love that. So take care. Thank you ever so much.
Cheers.